Welcome to Grumpily Ever After, our uncensored podcast where swoon-worthy meets eye-rolling as I, an avid reader and adventure romance author, chat with my grumpy husband who has inspired all of my book boyfriends written to date. Join us as we chat about books he'll never read, words he thinks are stupid, and all his grumbles in between. If nothing else, we hope to make you smile and brighten your day. At least a little. So, settle in and let's see where today's chapter takes us.
You want to try and define it in the sense that it's not recognized as a official or known.
Mm-hmm. I feel like when I'm on Google Maps, it does say like unincorporated something. I can't think of the word. Or unobserved.
Unincorporated area.
It needs to be big scale though, because it's a pivotal place in the story. Anyways, I just thought I would ask. So something to think on. Totally not related to the podcast, but I guess technically it kind of is. So
I got district, independent, separate, autonomous.
I think district actually works really well. It's definitely an area, a district that people know it for something very specific. So that makes sense.
District makes more sense to me.
Hey, thanks. Hey, should we get started with the podcast now?
I thought that was it. Oh, man.
We haven't even started yet.
Great.
Welcome to this episode of Grumpily Ever After. My name is Lindsey Pogue. I am your co-host.
Main host, Dennis, present and accounted for.
I'm glad you're here. It's good to have you. Happy Friday. We are recording this on a Friday. How was your day, dear?
Terrible.
Oh, bringing out the Spanish words. That can't be good.
Busy, frustrating, overwhelming, annoying, but got things done. So triumphant.
Are you going to get a weekend or are you going to get a lot of calls, do you think?
I have a feeling I'm probably going to get a lot of calls. Hopefully I laid the groundwork where that's not going to happen, but we'll see. How was your day?
It was nice. I had one of my, it was my fault, 100%. I did not sleep well. And so, kind of off kilter, but I had an okay day. I've been doing a lot of plotting and brainstorming, and it's kind of hard because it's one thing if you know where the story's going and you can sit down and write. It's a whole different feeling than when you have to stop. You have to force yourself to stop. And then you have to take a breath. And then you have to force yourself to be patient, which I'm not super great at. And don't give me those eyeballs. But yeah, so I have spent pretty much, other than random little things that I've been doing here and there, I have been spending the day plotting. And I know that it's totally not what I expected to do today. My goal was to write my Zach chapter.
Yeah, bruh.
Yeah, bruh.
What's up, dude? What's up?
My goal was to write my Zach chapter, continuing from last episode of Grumpily Ever After, when you created this character for one of my other stories. But I think I mentioned that I'm also working on another novel with Lindsey Sparks. And so we're going back and forth. And I'm at a part in the story where I can't continue writing my POV, which is Finn, without essentially plotting out everything else that's going to happen in the rest of the book, or at least knowing exactly what's going to happen, because everything is pivotal around the conversations that are coming, So I've had to put Land of Ash aside. I've had to really come up with all my ideas and think of all the characters, because that's the other thing is when you have a story that involves more than one character, which obviously most stories do, when you're thinking of the book from point A moving forward, you can't just think about one character. It has to be every single character and what's happening in the world and where it's supposed to end and how you're going to get there and what the role everybody's character is going to play in. Just a bunch of different things. And one of the things that I will probably not do again, I say that with the intention, not 100% certainty, is write some sort of world and story where people have superpowers. I don't ever want to do that again. Because, would you like to know why?
My guess is that it's difficult to try and come up with something new, fresh, because it's been written over and over again since the 70s, 80s.
For me, as a writer and the person who has to come up with the logical, reasonable plot that incorporates everybody's abilities, is because if you have people who have superpowers, every single thing you do has to make sense for everybody who's in the scene. So I could sit there and say, this would be the most badass chapter I could ever write and get all excited about it, and then stop and be like, wait, that's not possible because this person is telepathic and this person can do this. And then it's like, are you... it's kind of like mojo killer when you're writing, because you have to stop and you have to kind of recalibrate and you have to anticipate every single thing. Like right now, I am one of the issues is I'm trying to write this scene where a character gets captured, but when everybody in this world has an ability and they're all different, including the person who's getting captured, you have to think about, how is this going to happen in a way that, somebody doesn't know, especially if they, can read people's, their intentions or their memories or their whatever capabilities, whatever it is. Or how can I have this happen if one of these people is telepathic and they can't just communicate it non-verbally, like stuff like that. I hate it. Absolutely hate it. And so that's why anything outside of the ending world will never have superpowers again, because I'm so over it. I don't like it. So
No, and I see the struggle, and I haven't read any of it, so I don't know the extent of your character's powers. So I'm trying to reflect back on the X-Men, which is really the only thing I know when it comes to powers and how they limit that or how they work that out. And I'm trying to think if they kind of limit the amount of items they can do. I'm really honing in on the telepathic part of it.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, oh, you have to touch the person in order to do something, or you can only do X until a certain amount of time or something like that. So if you wrote them in such a way that anything is possible, then yeah, I can see that being difficult. But just thinking of that in mind, people get captured all the time. Characters in that series are always in peril. And if Xavier, who's like the main telepathic cheese guy, aside from Phoenix, could potentially see something like that, how did they get around it? I can't remember, but
yeah. I mean, and there's obviously things you can do. Like you can create, let's say that we're trying to block an ability. So you create like some sort of bracer, some sort of collar that blocks blah, blah, blah. Or there are obviously ways around it, but it's harder and harder and harder and harder to build a plot around something like that when you have a dozen things you have to keep in mind and anticipate. And you also have to, like, you can, if you want to get from A to B and then you're all gung-ho and you're like, oh, this is going to be great. And then all of a sudden there's 25 different obstacles just to get to B. It really takes the wind out of your sails. And it sometimes like completely changes everything because you can't do that. There's just no way. You've already written yourself into a corner essentially. So you have to, you have to shift gears. And this isn't the first book in a series. And this isn't the first series in a world. So we're building off of multiple books already written in this world, 2 prior books. So there's nothing that we can't, there's certain things that readers are discovering they haven't known yet. But in general, the precedent has been set as to what can happen. So you have to live within that world building, right? And there are other series in the world to keep in mind. So the Savage North Chronicles is in that world, and the Ending series is in that world. And so there are already existing rules that I have to use. So yeah, like I said, it's been a day, a lot of plotting. I have just like, this is the stuff when you can get creative and you can brainstorm and you can just go crazy. I love that stuff because you get a lot of momentum and you get a lot of creative juices flowing and you can kind of build off of everything. But these kind of days when you really have to try and anticipate every single angle and think of every single thing, and you have to go back I have looked at the old manuscripts so many times and search for certain words, and I've re-listened to the books and all the things so that I can try and catch everything. It just is, it's so tedious. And like I said, I don't ever want to write in a world. So sorry, ending people who love this world. This is the last time this is happening, but at least as far as like, if in the future we decide we're going to do something else, that's one thing in this world, but it's never going to be a priority and it's not going to happen again. The superpowers are just really hard. And I think maybe I'm just tired too. I mean, like you were talking about, a lot of stuff has been done, and having written this world for the last decade, it's getting harder and harder to kind of find new things to do in a way that's still entertaining, So, I mean, it's possible and it's happening, and, readers love this, the ending legacy and all the stuff, but doesn't mean that on my end of things it gets harder and harder and harder and harder. So anyways, that's what I've been doing today. And I even cheated. I took the document from the last book because I was just getting so tired. I took the document, the entire manuscript from The Raven Queen, which was the book before the one I'm working on, which is called The Ghost King. I put it into Gemini, which is like Google's ChatGPT sort of thing. And I said, can you please scan this? And I said, please, because I'm nice like that. Can you please, I didn't say scan. I said, can you please read in detail this manuscript and tell me if I have mentioned this character has an ability or not? Because I searched, but I didn't trust myself, because what are you exactly searching for when you search specific words? It's too hard. It is too many things that could get lost. And so after I'd spent in freaking 35 minutes doing that, I was like, why don't I just try this? And so I put it in there, and it actually was super, super helpful. So that's a little trick I'm probably going to be adapting and learning and using again soon, because it just reiterates that niggling thing in the back of my mind that says, you may be missing something here.
That was a massive copy and paste.
I just uploaded the PDF.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah. So I just, and it took 3 seconds. That's how crazy it is. So anyways, I don't know. I know everybody has their opinions about AI, but in this case, it saved me. And I was like, why? I'm probably going to be doing that next time. I'm going to be like, I've already written everything. It's done. Like, I can't spend an entire day searching for these things. So anyway, it was really eye-opening. So yeah, I did that. But overall, yeah, so that's been my day. I've just been feeling it just feels very kind of tedious, but I would rather be doing this than a million other things. So, I mean, I can't really complain too much other than just to say, after all these years, I think I'm at my end with this whole ability thing, and I will not be writing more superpowers because they're just, from a writing standpoint, that's just not my cup of tea anymore. So sorry. That was like a really long check-in. Thank you for listening so patiently.
Anytime.
Anyways, back to Zach. I did not write him, unfortunately, but I have been thinking about him a lot on my walks and how I'm incorporating him when I get to that chapter. I'm so close. I'm excited to kind of check in with you about him, let you know how he's doing.
Wow. Thinking about Zach, huh?
I'm thinking about Zach. Don't be jealous.
Did you hone in on a color for his eyes since I said
Oh no, I haven't
blue,
written that
green,
yet.
gray?
No,
You're
not
giving
yet.
me crap about that.
I'll let you know. I'll let you know when I get to that point. Right now it's more about, because I already wrote the story to the point where I'm going to be adding him. And so it's more about how am I going to weave him in and change things moving forward? How much do I want him to be in there? That sort of thing. But I had mentioned last episode that I actually, it kind of the way you described him with the seeds and all of that, without giving too much away, that really plays into what I have already written in a lot of ways. And so he definitely is, I can utilize him a lot in this, which is perfect. So it just means that us doing this is, helpful. So
Yeah, bruh.
dude. Yeah, dude. The other thing I wanted to let you know, I didn't do this. I meant to, since you're so good at Matthew McConaughey impersonations, and the whole reason we even got on this topic was because I was doing the Skies of Fire audiobook. Are you at all interested in actually hearing a sound clip from the audiobook by the narrator or no?
Yeah, I'll listen to it.
Yeah. And don't think this is going to come through for people to hear, so I will insert something in the audio. Please hold. Dennis, would you like to play some elevator music while people wait? You can sing it for us.
Do 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 do.
All right. So
Boom, boom.
oh wow. Okay. Good job.
I never considered having to leave the ranch and what that would entail. It's one thing to prepare to hole up at home where I have everything I need and know my surroundings like the back of my hand, where I can prepare to die in the comfort of my own home if it ever came to that. But if I leave, there's no telling what could happen along the way or how to prepare for it. And I have a ranch full of animals to worry about, on top of whatever uncertain journey lies ahead.
What do you think about his voice?
And refresh my memory. What's with the Matthew McConaughey?
I was just letting you listen to the audition, and we were talking about how he had like a slight little tinge of Matthew McConaughey, and ever since then, every time I mention Skies of Fire, you do your horrible, horrible Matthew McConaughey voice. Oh, I'm from Simpsons is more what it sounds like.
So what comes to mind when I hear this person narrate is not Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, who do you think of?
Willie Nelson.
Really?
Yeah. Not like current day Willie Nelson, but maybe a younger version where he's got that kind of deep, raspy, twangy thing, and his cadence is almost similar.
I can see that.
I see more Willie Nelson than Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, I get it. But anyways, it was just to kind of update you. But one of the reasons why I played that scene is because, well, one, it's this actual sample, so I had a quick thing to show you. But also because, do you remember, I mean, I wrote this book, or I've been working on this book for a couple years. So do you remember when we spent that afternoon, or maybe it was morning, but it was a couple hours in the tractor store going up and down the aisles and looking at different things that they had there and the layout and things you could use for, that's that scene. That's only part of it.
It was like the first and only time you've been to the tractor supply store.
No, I go there for cat food and stuff too. But yeah, like we spent actual time. I was taking notes and you were helping me figure out all the different things, how we could use things for survival and what would be important to take. And so there's essentially about 3 or 4, I'm guessing, but 3 or 4 chapters in the book and this specific area that take place in a setup similar to that. In a little roundabout way, you kind of helped me get that whole setting. Oh yeah. Oh man. Oh geez. We have arm movements, people. A little celebrating.
Booyakasha.
Booyakasha. Anyways,
nice,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So it's really exciting because now that audiobook is available everywhere. I mean, it's still processing it Audible, but that's to be expected. They take forever and a moon. So
No, I remember that walk that we went through, and your head was getting blown off left and right as we went through the aisles. And you're like, "This is available. This is here. What?"
yeah.
Because it's kind of a big box store that doesn't really make sense where we live, but
Then it does at the same time once you go in there and you see all the stuff they have, because we live in an agricultural place. So it totally does at the same time. No?
ish.
Okay.
Well, I guess where we live is kind of weird, but I don't know. It's cool to. I didn't realize that you folded that into one of your stories. I know that I thought it was more just trying to get ideas of what is available in places like that.
Yeah. No, it was all for this. It was all for this. So, anyways, I just wanted to, a little full circle moment for you. Anything else before I dive into a little activity for today? I have too many notebooks. Okay, so what I thought we would do today, a few episodes ago, we looked at the 7 mistakes that women write when writing men, right?
Yeah.
Today we are going to look at 7 mistakes people write when writing women. And we could say men writing women, or we can just say people. Either way, 7 mistakes that people writing women. So I figure we'll just go through. This is the same person who I found the other 7 mistakes from. Her name is Abby Emmons, and I will go ahead, and she's a great resource for authors. So I'll go ahead and link to her in the show notes. And just as a reminder, because I don't always say it, but everything we talk about, whether it's books or shows or something like this, I try and link in the show notes so that everybody can check it out outside of just listening to the podcast. So let's see. So we'll start with mistake number 1, making her a damsel in distress. Is there anything that comes to mind for you? I can tell you that when she was talking about this and breaking it down, she was really looking at women who are written, their only purpose is to have a problem that has to be saved by someone else. So one of the examples specifically that she used is Sleeping Beauty. She is in an eternal sleep, and the only way she can get out of it is if the prince kisses her and wakes her up.
Yeah, but that's the whole reason of the story.
Right. I'm just saying, though, there are other... Think about it in other stories. So let's take Skies of Fire, for example. Nox and Ava have 2 very different strengths and weaknesses. So they both have 2 different skills and 2 different life experiences. And while there are multiple scenes where Nox helps Ava, there are also scenes where Ava helps Nox. Whereas if you think about Sleeping Beauty, and again, this is, yes, a classic example, but it illustrates the point, right? What exactly is the purpose of her character? So I think what happens is a lot of times in stories, let's just take another sci-fi or survival story, the woman exists to move someone else's story along, and or can only exist if somebody is saving her life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'm sure there are plenty of examples, but that was mistake number 1. Do you have any comments on that?
I think it just depends on the story.
Yeah.
It to me, it doesn't really matter gender wise whether it's male or female. It's just what you're trying to portray, whether if someone needs help, male or female. I don't think it's fair for women to be cast in that role all the time, that women are helpless or need help all the time, because men do as well, that both genders need help. So I guess it just depends on the storyline. If it's focusing on a character who happens to be male, needs constant help, then that's how it's written. If it's the same way for a female and needs help the entire time, then they're a damsel in distress. I don't know what the opposite would be, but it's just how it's written. But,
Yeah, and
but
I think
the norm. I mean, anytime we write a female character, she doesn't need to be a damsel in distress.
And I think the whole point is obviously, I mean, I don't recall Abby saying this in her video, but I think her point is that there's just a balance, right? So if all you write are damsels in distress, you're bound to lose readers because that's not realistic, right? We all have different layers. We all have different strengths and weaknesses. So to be constantly relying on someone else to save your life, most readers are not going to go into it thinking, I want to read about somebody who can't take care of themselves and can only be saved by someone else. I mean, maybe they are.
But is that a niche, that a genre that people?
I mean, yeah, maybe.
It's probably small, but someone, a female that needs constant help, that's something there. And the opposite, there's a male that needs constant help, fixing whatever. That's another thing. But for it to be the norm, no.
And I think the point too was, and she did make this in a few of the different mistakes, is that it's not necessarily about the niche or the niche readers, depending on how you want to say it. It's more about the general public and what they want to read. And it's not going to constantly be somebody who needs to be saved all the time. And I will say that other than Sleeping Beauty, the person that kept coming up was Bella Swan from Twilight in her video. So
yeah, I think that, to me, I think I don't want to put words in this lady's mouth, but I think maybe the point that she might have been getting across, or at least how I interpret it, is that the mistake that writers make is making a female character so helpless that they're essentially useless the entire time. Like they can't even feed them. They can't even feed themselves. Like, how are you even alive? You're that inept that you need someone, another character, to carry you along because you're that useless.
Yeah, what is your endearing qualities? Yeah. What's relatable about that? Yeah.
I think that might be the mistake, is making someone so utterly useless that it's like, what the hell?
I don't even know how she found these. I'm just saying I went with the 7, women writing men. I'm doing the 7 men writing women. Yeah. Okay. So number 2 was making her invincible, indestructible, and all-powerful. So this is the exact opposite. So there is no in between when you look at these two. It is either you're writing them as the damsel in distress, or you're writing them as, which she brought up a good point. It's pretty much how pretty much all Marvel characters are these days, of just like these badass superhero women who have very few vulnerable qualities, right? They're all just saving the world and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and to me is more unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get it that women are empowered and they're strong and we should be equals. Men have faults, women have faults, and we both have strengths. But to go to the complete polar opposite, where these women, they can survive anything and they know everything.
Well, yeah, it's not realistic. It's not relatable. Every single person on Earth has vulnerabilities, and they can relate to other people's vulnerabilities and fears and weaknesses. So definitely sprinkling those in to your strong characters would be to your benefit if you want readers to be able to connect to your stories.
Right. And you got just Superman, right? Man of Steel, he can do anything. He's got a bunch of powers, but he has weaknesses, right? He's still portrayed as a softie. He's still portrayed as doing the right thing. He doesn't kill people. He doesn't do any of this stuff. In comparison to the female side, they don't kill. They're not really soft or emotional like I think Clark Kent is portrayed, but I can't think of any weaknesses like Clark Kent has with the kryptonite, So
yeah,
it's
like physical, yeah.
They're those things are pushed aside, and it's more, hey, this girl is a girl, so we got to make her a badass to the max.
Can I just ask, when you think of, who are you thinking of right now as far as
I went Superwoman,
okay,
and Superman.
Does Superwoman? I don't actually know a lot about Superwoman. Does she have weaknesses? She might. I don't know. Clearly, we are crazy Marvel fanatics, guys, because we know so much about superheroes.
No, we don't.
I know.
You're saying, yeah.
I'm joking. Clip that, and I don't know if she was just generalizing in the video I was watching, but the clip she used was Captain Marvel is her name, right? The one, there's like 5 of them now. There's 5 of her now or something.
Yeah, the cheese lady.
The cheese lady?
Brie.
Oh, you're such a dork. Yes, Brie Larson plays her character. So that was one of the clips that she used. I don't know if she was just generalizing because she's a superhero, female superhero, or what, but yeah, that was one of the clips that she used. Okay, so mistake number 3 is she is only here because the male protagonist needs her to be. And I think this is actually really hard activity for me to comment on because I don't read books like this. So I don't write characters like this. So it's hard for me to draw from past memories of things that I might have read or listened to or watched, or this is a thing.
Say it again. Number 3, the whole
thing.
She's only there for the protagonist.
She's only here because the male protagonist needs her to be. So essentially, she is a
complement.
She is a supporting character, but she doesn't really have any dimension or dynamic that makes her her own character. She's just supporting his hero's journey or whatever his plot is.
I think again, it just goes with what you're trying to write. I think throughout life, you're gonna have people that aid you in certain situations, and then leave.
Do you remember? Is it The Mountain Between Us? What is that? Idris Elba and
Kate
Winslet movie. I wanted to love that movie so much, and I did enjoy it. But the way Kate Winslet's character came across to me, and I've only seen it once, guys, and I'm really digging back in my memories here as to the specifics of the movie. But I feel like with her, she was one of those characters where she was useless the whole time. And I got so frustrated because, like, I get there were parts where she was injured or whatever, but I almost felt like even when she was there to serve his purpose of her surviving and then like being his love interest. That was her purpose. She didn't have much of a purpose of her own, or I don't know. To me, she was very much a damsel in distress. I think, if I'm recalling correctly. So that just occurred to me, and so I'm rethinking these mistakes, and I'm really being able to pinpoint them and saying how much they actually bother me as well. So
that reference, I think, is a little bit of culmination of the last 3. It's peppered in. It's not she's got superpowers, but like she's totally damsel in distress. The majority of the movie, spoiler, she's useless. But what got her to that position was her stubborn and headstrongness, I guess.
Okay.
So she's like, it's my way. I know what I'm doing. It's almost that female superpower. I'm not taking any shit. You're a man. You're stupid. We're doing it my way. And it got her, I think.
I need to rewatch this now because now I'm just like super intrigued.
They were butting heads, and it was like, dude, shut up. And again, same as you, I'm going back 10 years ago. I don't know when it came out, but I remember her being very aggressive and going like, whoa, this lady's okay. Like,
he's a doctor. He's trying to save your life. I think she's like a photojournalist or something.
He was just trying to hitch a ride, and she was giving him a bunch of shit, and he's like, okay, we'll do whatever. And it blew up in her face. And then she turned into damsel in distress.
It's really interesting how we both remember that movie. I mean, granted, we both have shit memories. So who knows? We're probably way off. We're going to rewatch it and we're like, oh, what did we say on that podcast? Because we screwed that up.
No, I've been wanting to rewatch it. Yeah, but we're total goldfish at this point. We can't remember shit.
Yeah. Anyways, but we will. And then we will report back to you guys. We just have to, I'm not going to pay for it though. So we're going to have to find it for free or it's not happening. Not paying for that. You heard it here, folks. Lindsey is stubborn. Okay. Mistake number 4, over describing her physical appearance. We had the male version of this as well. Would you like me to read the example she posted for this one?
Yes, please.
Because the other one that the women writing the men, that was so over the top and ridiculous. So this one says,
the shadow casted by
wait a minute.
Wiener.
No, this is the same one. It's the male one. His jawline, carved by angels, was so sharp. Never mind, I don't have a female one. But
No, it's not.
yeah, it is. I'll read it again.
No, because the one that we're talking about was a woman, and he was
Writing
saying
about a man. This is about a man. This is his jawline.
it's a woman writing about a male, or someone writing about a male, and the other one was a male writing about a woman, and like cascading hair and all this, like it's
Okay.
like a waterfall or something.
Oh, this one is just as bad. Oh my goodness. Okay, so his jawline carved by angels was so sharp it sliced through my self-control like butter on a hot summer's day. I can't see. Are you doing gestures? Because I'm trying to read it. This thing is in front of your face. His eyes were pools of molten starlight, swirling with secrets and just the tiniest, most adorable hint of mischief. I practically drowned in them every time he looked my way. His chest was a cathedral of muscle, a testament to the gym gods, stretching his t-shirt in ways that should be illegal. And when he stretched, his shirt lifted just enough to reveal those golden brown abs, all 6, maybe 8 of them glistening like the sculpted torso of a Roman statue come to life. I was a mere mortal in the divine presence of those abs. Every step he took was a Shakespearean sonnet in motion, and every breath he exhaled carried the faintest scent of cedarwood, mystery, and heartbreak.
Cedarwood.
I actually like that. The faintest scent of cedarwood, mystery, and heartbreak. I actually kind of like that part. The rest is redonkadonk.
The last one you read, I said, yeah, most guys don't think that way. They just look at a girl and they're like, she's hot.
And I guess now they're writing that girls think this way, which that is not actually, none of that is.
No, I think you guys can be a little bit more in depth and think about things, but you're not going to say every step he took was a Shakespearean sonnet. The hell is that?
All right. Mistake number 5, failing to balance her dark and light feminine energy. So specifically, this was really kind of looking at 2 polar opposites. So you have, think about Snow White and how she's very bubbly and she talks to animals and blah, 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 blah. And she sings and dances and walks around and cleans. And she's just very feminine and light and bubbly. And then you have the evil queen who's sharp featured and dark featured. And she is horrible, and neither one of them have any layers. Neither one of them have any opposing traits, flaws that also contradict with positive traits, that sort of thing. So that was one of the things. And actually, before I go on, I wanted to back up, because the other thing that she brought up when it came to men writing women, one of the things she actually said, which is 100% true that I agree with, is when women think about themselves and they're writing their own perception, we don't sit there and talk about how nice our boobs look and how nice our butt looks. We pick at the things that we don't like, right? So I'm not saying men don't do that, but I'm just saying that when men are writing women describing themselves, apparently sometimes they focus on the physical attributes and all the good things, the positive things that women might see in themselves. And in general, that's not really how women think. They're going to pick themselves apart before they sit there and, I have beautiful eyes. My eyelashes look great today. More power to you if you can do that every day. But I'm more like, hey, I don't have acne on my face today. I'll call it a win,
Right. And that's more realistic. I think with both. I don't know. That one's hard. I think it's just because it can go both ways. You can have like a dark male that looks gross, nasty, or has physical issues or whatever, and then you have the opposite. So it just depends on the story. I don't think that's a mistake.
I definitely think that if you have somebody, I think that's why a lot of people enjoy reading morally gray characters, and why they become so popular in the past years is because everybody has a light and dark side. They have negative thoughts and positive thoughts. They have good qualities and bad qualities. You can't have salt without pepper, right? You can't have sweet without sour. And I think that if you have somebody who has all of one quality, it's not relatable and it's boring and it's cliche. So if you can pepper in little things that kind of change things up a little bit and give a character dimension, then that makes them all the more appealing and relatable.
100%.
Yeah. And it kind of leads into her mistake number 6, which was giving her strictly feminine or strictly masculine hobbies and interests. So, like, one of the examples she said is writing somebody who likes to bake and likes to paint their nails and likes to wear dresses and likes to sing to themselves when they're cleaning and likes to do all these things. She's like, if that's all that she likes to do, A, it's not believable, it's boring, it's cliche. But also, what about she's really good at pool too? Or what about she likes to go to the gym and rock out to AC/DC when she's working out? Like, there are other things that make them a more versatile, well-rounded, relatable character that isn't just cut and dry. I like to paint my nails and do all the girly frilly things. And I'm not saying that women don't like doing that. And I don't think that's what she was saying either. There are women like that, but in general, well, it's hard because I'm also not super feminine, and like, I don't particularly like wearing dresses very often and that sort of thing, but I don't not like dressing up either. I don't not like putting makeup on and getting dolled up to go outside. So maybe for me, it'd be more like, oh, she likes to go horseback riding and she likes to be out in nature, and she, I don't even know. I don't really have a lot of hobbies. She likes to read, but she also likes to smell of sawdust, and I like to sweat. I like to feel like I actually did some things. I like to play pool. I don't know. What do I like to do?
Do you?
Huh. I mean, I have a pool stick.
Yeah. I was gifted a crochet set. Doesn't mean I like it. No, I think it just depends on the character. You can have super feminine girls that are super prissy and like pink everything and are always dolled up and jump at the sight of dirt or doing anything physical. And then you can have the complete opposite where they're not feminine and do all the quote unquote guy things. But there's a medium, like you're saying, like you pepper in a girl that's feminine, but likes to walk around with her bare feet or work in the garden without gloves. Like, yeah.
Jonesy keeps raising her hand.
It's little things like that. It's subtle, but it's showing or knows a little bit of something mechanical.
It's more of a character. Yeah.
You pepper it in. It doesn't define them. They're like, you don't go, oh, I like to do my hair and get my makeup done, and also I drive a 1969 Mustang. I hate that in movies.
That's like the one thing that they give the woman is an
old classic car, and it's like, okay, that's so not believable.
Really?
I don't think so. It's so dumb. There's a lot of work when it comes to a classic car. They always need constant attention. And this super prissy, hot ass girl is driving this classic car, but it doesn't make sense. You gotta kind of maybe lead into it, being like, oh,
yeah, what's the backstory? What's the sentimentality to her? Maybe it was her grandpa's. Maybe she's made of money and she can have somebody working on it all the time.
Something, not just she drives this nice ass old car. That's cool, but what?
Yeah, we have to remind everybody you're a mechanic and you know how complicated and tedious these things are. I don't know. It's funny because looking at these mistakes, I feel like the women writing men they were so much more straightforward and were so much easier to really dissect. I feel like these are hard, especially because they're not specifically. I can't relate to a lot of them because I'm a woman who writes women. I'm also a woman who writes men. So those two things are easy for me. I'm not a man that writes women, and I don't write a lot of men. I don't read a lot of men who write women. So I don't have tons of feedback, right? I'm just going based off of initial gut instinct.
Yeah, I think a lot of them for me are kind of in the gray area.
Yeah.
Because some of them make sense depending on what story you're trying to tell, because everyone's different. The only one I think that comes to mind is number 2, where the woman is so strong and so powerful that she has no weaknesses. Like, it's not realistic.
Yeah. The last one Again, this isn't something that I've experienced too much, but I think that it's a good point to make. And that is people or men, when they're writing women, making her use her head more than her heart. And Abby is very clear about how, don't get me wrong, women can be logical, and we are logical. It's not that I'm saying that we're not logical, but men, if something happens and their first instinct is very like cut and dry, this is what I think, this is what you do. Argue, like, tell me if this is wrong.
Correct.
She said with women, and this is something that I agree with, is that it's more of like, you stop, you're like, you get a weird vibe by somebody, you think about that vibe, and then you process the logic part of it. But you react with feeling and heart before the logic comes into it. And my own personal experience, I agree with that. I am not I get very frustrated and I can be very reactive, but in general, especially in our relationship, like I find myself, I go through a very long process before it's verbalized, and it starts with a gut feeling that I have or an instinctual reaction to something. And then I have to like take a breath, and then I think about it, and then I do something or I say something or whatever. You know me, every single time I'm in public, I am aware of 17 different things around me and what makes me feel uncomfortable. And that is not necessarily a logic thing. That's all going based off of my intuitive feelers that I'm putting out and stuff. And I'm just saying, so I can relate in that aspect of when thinking about a woman. And I don't know that I've never really thought about how I write women. But I'm sure it's somewhere along those lines, because that's how my internal reaction is as a woman. I don't just go to like, let's make a decision. This is what I'm thinking. It's much, there's an actual like process that goes into it for me.
So say the whole thing again, the quote or
the mistake number 7 is making her use her head more than her heart.
Okay. So I think with you, you're a little different. I think I don't want to generalize, but from the norm or most girls I've talked to or I've come across, that your situational awareness is really high. And that's that gut instinct. You're always looking, you're checking out things, your I don't know, radar is up, I guess. That's not normal. A lot of girls that I've come across are not like that, and they're kind of just in the moment. And to me, it makes sense that if something came across them or something was presented to them quickly, the initial gut reaction is going to be based off emotion, then logic. And it's the opposite with the guys. You're kind of an in-betweener. Okay,
that's fair. Yeah, I think I'm very emotionally aware too in general. So I definitely have a thought process, and I very rarely, like, I can sit there and spout whatever opinions, that's one thing, but when it comes to actually making decisions, I'm pretty thoughtful about everything that I do. Even if my initial gut instinct isn't what I actually end up doing, because I overthink everything, so yeah, and I'm always 10 steps ahead of where I need to be. So.
But I think like biologically, that's how we're wired, is that men are logical and women are
right.
emotional.
And that's the point she made. And I think that's why she was saying, don't make the mistake of writing women the way men would think, because they're not wired that way. Yeah, they're not wired that way.
I think that your instance is more nurture than nature. All right. I think you were raised in instances where that sense needed to be heightened of situational awareness, so that you know what's going on, instead of other people that didn't have to go through certain things, that they're all wired kind of how they were born, which is emotionally.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's all about our learned experiences too, but that's why it's so cool. And that's why it's so important to have so much depth in all these different parts of characters, so that it is something that is interesting and not just single layered, boring cliche stuff. Right.
Yeah. And that's what makes everyone different. Like every single person is different, because through our experiences and how we're raised and everything we're exposed to, that one female character is going to be completely different from another female character.
Mm-hmm.
But not to say polar opposites, but like just how you were talking about, one girl can be female, like super female and prissy and doesn't do anything. One can be female and likes, like you said, listen to AC/DC while she goes and pumps some iron. And it doesn't need to be to a scale of a ton of weight, but she's out there being physical and doing things and listening to some rock, you know.
And then she goes home and puts on a pretty dress, and
yeah, and that's not what the other super side of it, that's super female, and you know, she's like spa days all day.
Yeah. And let's be clear, one of my favorite things is being out in the sun, going back to what Dennis was saying earlier, having hot pink nail polish on my toes and my fingernails, being outside in the sunshine, no shoes on. I don't know what I'm doing in that day, but that's like the perfect day. That's all I want. Sunshine, hot pink, whatever, no shoes, no gloves if I'm doing anything. Yes, it has bitten me in the ass before, everybody. Yes, Dennis tells me every single time, put some shoes on, put some gloves on. And I do sometimes, but only if I really feel like I need to, because I prefer getting the dirt under my fingernails and wearing no shoes. So you just learn that, folks.
And that's where we differ. I hate dirt under my fingernails. I always got gloves on or something.
Well, I mean, I hate it under my fingernails when I'm not out doing stuff, but when I'm out getting dirty, I don't mind it. But you guys, Dennis does always make fun of me because I pretty much always have dirty feet because I don't really like shoes. I know, I can't help it. I mean, why paint my toes hot pink if I'm not gonna like?
You're not walking with your toes nails.
Oh my gosh.
You're not a chimpanzee grabbing things with your toes.
Yeah. You say whatever you want, but I know you like them pink toes. So, all right.
Love them.
All right. So I think that's pretty much a wrap. I'm ready to start my weekend. Let's go ahead and say what we're grateful for and sign off.
All right. I'm grateful for, we finally finished the fence last weekend. About a month-long process. I feel like I didn't do much, but I woke up sore like every weekend. So
yeah,
I did something.
Your back's still hurting. I am very grateful for you for everything that you did to make. I mean, I know you didn't do all of the stuff on like with the fence and the gate, but you were huge in helping the guys with that. And you work hard so that we can do these projects. And I very much appreciate it. And I want to give a shout out also to my sister, because I know she listens to this podcast, for our little surgery yesterday. I was showing her our new beautiful gate and fence that Dennis helped put up over this last month, because I haven't seen her much since I've had my whole rash situation going on. So anyway, she was over and I was like, hey, look at this really beautiful fence that we have and the new gate and blah, blah, blah. And I opened it, and granted, this is an old part of the gate, of course, but I got like, I think, I'm not exaggerating, I'm pretty sure it was 7 or 8. Oh my God, I think I still have one in there actually, now that I'm looking. Different splinters in my finger. Of course, all I can joke about the whole time, while it took us probably a solid half an hour to get them all out, my sister helped me, is don't let me forget, as soon as we're done, I have to go clean out all these wounds, because I am not taking any antibiotics if I get any infections after the shit I just went through with my allergic reaction. So yeah, I've actually been watching it all day. I cleaned it and stuff yesterday. Today my finger is a little swollen and sore because, I mean, there's a solid, handful of sores in it from taking everything out. But Katie, thank you for your help. So far, no infection. We're good. I think I'm going to survive at least until the apocalypse. We'll see if I survive after the apocalypse.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
How could this have been avoided?
I'm not going to put gloves on to open the gate. You son of a mother. Sorry, Charlie. That's not happening.
All right. I'll sand the gate down. Jesus.
I'll do it, but I'll do it. We'll just do it just around the area where you have to lift the latch.
Yeah, I know.
Well, at least now I even know. I didn't know before that I needed to be careful, but now I do. All right, guys.
Grasp it.
Thanks for listening to us. Happy week. Happy weekend. And don't forget, all the links and information are in the show notes. And if you have any questions, you know where to find me, at least. I've been posting little snippets of our chats on social media, TikTok and Instagram, just so people can see our faces, because we don't actually normally post the videos anywhere else other than YouTube. And that's only from special request from listeners. And go grab the Skies of Fire audiobook, because Nox and Ava's adventure is awesome and you should listen to it. So until next time, everybody.
Mahalo.
Take care. See you then.
Well, that's a wrap on this episode of Grumpily Ever After. Whether you're here for the book talk or the banter, we appreciate you. If you enjoyed our brand of chaos, don't forget to subscribe and join us next time for more book chats and married mayhem. Stay grumpy, stay bookish, and we'll catch you next time.